Welcome back, MTG Joe here. Today we're doing a weekly meta breakdown, kind of more monthly for the Alchemy format. I know there's a lot of folks who don't enjoy Alchemy. However, there is a subset of my audience and folks who do enjoy playing it. So as always, it's a game, play what you like. And this kind of data set is going to be for these folks here. The one caveat, usually we break it up between best of one, best of three. Don't have a huge amount of data for the best of three, so it's going to kind of be blended with a little bit more focus on best of one. Best of three is basically just grind fest. The thing is, with a lot of these alchemy cards, they're like 7-for-1s in terms of value, so it ends up just being like piles of who gets like incremental value times infinity. But we'll take a look at the format itself. And we're going to start off with looking at popularity of the day from Untapped GG. Companion tool tracks win rate data from the ladder. If you want to get started, track your own win rates, everything like that. Deck collections, link is in the video description. Let them know I sent you. And then I'll paste all these deck lists as well. So popularity of the day, keep in mind we're being recorded on December 2nd, so the ladder just reset. So there's naturally an inclination for folks, especially in best of one, to revert to more aggressive slanted decks for the best of one meta. For the first couple days, as everybody's trying to do that speed run into Mythic. And Mono Red is the most represented deck here at 32%. We also have Dimir Faeries, Mardu Midrange, both around 10%. Mono Black Nazgul, where despite we see like a pretty unimpressive win rate, 39% for the day, it's still being played quite a bit. Similarly with Mardu Midrange, it's got a somewhat lower win rate here, but based on like the stats, like there's various versions putting up like 60%. So it could just be a bad kind of configuration of the day, or just there weren't a lot of people playing it maybe, but the Nazgul deck's usually around 50% or so from every time I've recorded these in the past. And then 5-color Legends at 5%. 5-color Legends is probably one of the best decks, and we'll kind of take a look at that in a sec. Again, for popularity, we just see Mono Red head and heels over everything else. Everything else is kind of bunched in together in that 5 to 10 range. One deck here that's not being shown too much, but has been consistently popular, is the Orzhov Midrange decks. Since the ladder reset, we're not really seeing much representation, but we'll cover it in the thing, as it's one of the best decks in the format. So we'll jump into it. Alchemy, we're looking November 14th through December 2nd. So we're going to look about 2 weeks, a little bit more than 2 weeks worth of data. Platinum to Mythic rank. I wanted to do Plat to Mythic just to get rid of some of the starter deck stuff and just get rid of some of the noise. A cool thing that Untapped did was they dropped the match count, so we get lower match counts, so we can see more diversity in the format, or just decks that might be not, like for example, I played some Alchemy last week, or like before the ladder, I was getting some playing points, I was trying out some stuff just to get refreshed for the format, to speak to this, and I played probably like 30 games, and 30 games isn't going to show up in the old stats, it does in this new one. And then total matches was 12,000. So we'll jump into it. Orzhov Midrange, top performing deck, 71% after 68 games. And this deck here, there's a lot of kind of configurations of the Orzhov, but the kind of core of the deck is leveraging like Porcelain Portent, very useful card. It's a 3-mana exile removal, and then it's a 4-mana enchantment that summons one of the 3 pigs. The one I get the most from the pig book is it's a 2-mana and with a 2-mana activated ability that lets you exile target artifact or enchantment. Really good at dealing with the ring, Palantir, any sort of enchantment on the battlefield. So it's a nice little kind of effect built into there. The more that you get out, it makes your other pigs or boars, whatever you want to call them, more effective. This version here is on the dedicated doll maker and then 3 blind mice combo. So how it works is you have 3 blind mice out, you make a copy of it with doll maker. Since it becomes a token copy, when you go to chapters 2 and 3, then your 3 blind mice makes a copy of 3 blind mice, and then it's exponentially growing each turn. So you just make a really big board. You also have a bunch of blink effects with like Hopeless Nightmare. You have Juggernaut Peddler. You're actually able as well to like make a non-legendary copy of Palantir, and then you can get 2 of them out. This card's really good. Just so much redundancy. Your opponent gets basically forced into, well, do we let them mill over or do we take a whole bunch of damage? Juggernaut Peddlers attack their hand, a lot of removal between Get Lost, Edict, Soul Partition, Reprieves to kind of counter on the stack, One Rings, Shieldred, and then Virtue. This has got the new dual land, Captivating Crossroads, that you choose a color, and then one of the creature lands. And so this, in Alchemy, for those unfamiliar, there has been the rotation that we were supposed to get in Standard, so mana bases are a lot worse. And then some of the powerful cards like Wandering Emperor and stuff like that are out of the format. 5-color Legends. So this one's at 69.8, so just a hair short, like 1%. And this is a 5-color kind of value combo deck. So it's a Joda deck. You're using Delighted Halfling, a whole bunch of legendaries to get value. You're using Great Hall as well as Plaza Heroes. Both allow you to have multiple multicolor lands. The rest of the mana base, a little underwhelming between Jungle Hollow and these Rugged Highlands. You could probably get away with playing like more Copperline Gorges. You probably want to play like the Selesnya one or Razor Verge instead. You're pretty much a green white red. You can probably get away with even some copies of like Cave of Koilos or something in there. So I think there's some elements of this mana base that could be improved. I'm gonna cut these here and then play some of the other lands just to get you a little bit more value. I think just going up here, but if you want in a pinch, cut these, just up the numbers of these. You can play some basics, I guess, if you want. But the core of the deck, you're going to Joda and then you cascade down. There's an infinite combo here with Ratadrabik. So Ratadrabik makes a non-legendary token when a legendary creature controlled dies. So with Boromir, you're able to sack Boromir. It gives indestructible. When it comes back as a token copy, you get the ring tempts you. So you tempt the token copy. It becomes legendary. So then you can basically infinitely sack and have it die and come back. So it's an infinite loop. Pair that with Elias Sakor and you can drain out your opponent that way there. It's infinite life, infinite death. Crucius helps you find combo pieces. Gwenna and Ruby, along with Delighted Halfling, help you ramp. Protection with Hajar. And then the War of the Last Alliance helps you tutor 4 specific creature cards that are legendary, so pretty much any of the combo pieces you're missing. We then go to Dimir Faeries at 69%. So in this format, we do get some fairy action. So it turns out once you rotate most of the format, that Fairies is pretty good. And in part, like Dimir has really good mana in this format. So you have like 3 dual lands that are good. This version here, you got like Ego Drain for Hand Hate, Fairy Dream Thief, Fencing, 3 Sleep Curse Fairies, the Masterminds, Obira, Spellstutter. The one thing I tried a couple games with this, I think you maybe want... This is one of those decks where if you're on the play, it's a lot better than when you're on the draw. I do think you want some more removal. I can't remember if Goat for the Throat is still legal in this format. It is, I think. It should be. But I think you want more interaction. Because the thing is, the Fairy Fencing, even like playing Cutdowns or something, there's a lot of things that are contingent on you having a Fairy. I honestly don't think Ego Drain is where you want to be in these formats. You have to play it afterwards. Like, you have a Fairy, otherwise they attack your hand. And I think you just want to be proactive, playing a little bit more to the board. So Fairy Masterminds come in, Liliana's fine, Talion's Messenger, lets you kind of draw, discard, put counters, Shieldred, and then Talion attacks your opponent. Basically, you choose a number and then get to draw some cards potentially off it. I still think the Fairies struggles from the same elements it does in Standard, where you have a kind of congestion between effects that want you to play a flash tempo game, but then not the supporting cards. So I think you want to build it in that respect. There's also like the other 4-drop in the format that came out. I'll see if I can find another version. Like even this version. There's the Alchemy 4-drop. That's like a flash version. This one's got a slightly lower win rate, but like has a little bit more removal in there that I think is fine. But if you like Dimir, give it a shot. It's pretty much all standard legal cards, so you don't really need to worry about crafting any alchemy cards if you're a little apprehensive. Mardu Midrange is 68.9, so this is taking elements of the black-white version with like Nightmare, Dollmaker, Juggernaut Peddler, but you have Torch Towers, some cheap removal, Crucius, a very powerful threat. Jewel Mine Overseer comes into play. You get to conjure 7 elves or dwarves and then into your library. They all get the ability when this card enters the battlefield, you draw a card. So they get that value there. So it gives you kind of 2 mana, 2/2s that draw a card and then power each other up. And also at the beginning of your upkeep, it lets you exile top card of your library and get some free value. So it's just like a lot of grind value with this. Porcelain Portent, Shieldrids, a lot of creature lands, a lot of duels in these colors. So it pays off with that. So like we saw, the daily is pretty low, but like 69%. And there's a lot of versions of this that are doing pretty well overall. We have Izzet Prowess trying to do Izzet Wizards at home. Flame of Anor's legal in this format, as well as Balmor and Swift Spears. Using like the Birthday Escape as card advantage, Melt Through as cheap burn, Monstrous Rage, Shocks in here. To be honest, you're better off just playing the full set. Oh, actually, they're playing the full set of Melt Through. I got mixed up there. So just a lot of cheap burn. Sleep Curse Fairy in there also happens to be a wizard. Electrostatic Inventory as just another card that gets bigger. So just a lot of kind of elements of that historic Wizards deck that is brought into the format here. 1 creature land in Restless Spire, playing like the Thran Portals. There's no fast line in this format, so you gotta play like Thran Portal, which is like a terrible land in my opinion, but you gotta do what you gotta do to have untapped lands on 1 and 2. This one's also playing the Accident Prone Apprentice. Blue and a one in a blue. I don't know why I ever said it that way. You basically turn something into a frog till the end of turn, and then whenever you cast a non-creature spell, it perpetually gets +1/1, and then it also triggers when it's in exile. So if it's on the adventure, you still get that value. So another kind of interesting wizard threat. We then get to Mono Red Aggro, which we finally, the most played deck, 67%. So elements of the standard deck, obviously Swift Spheres, Monstrous Rage, Phoenix Chick, 2 Shivan Devastators, 1 Song of Totenzan. I have the Charming Scoundrels in here, Lightning Strike. So notably no 1 mana burn, instead just playing the 2 mana burn. Excuse me. And then you have Rally at the Hornburg. This gives you creates 2/1/1 and give your humans haste. Plays nicely. Actually, I've done this in Historic with Burning Tree Emissary. In this deck, pretty much everything has haste. But with Burning Tree, you can cast Burning Tree Emissary into this card, and then they all get haste. So it gives your Burning Tree a chance to attack in that turn as well. Imidane's Recruiter's in the deck. It's pretty much a 3 mana 2/2 that gives haste to your team and power. You do have a couple Battlefield Forge if the game goes long that you can use it. 2 Palatiers. This is just for card advantage and then potential reach. You're going to be pressuring your opponent's life total, so they're often inclined to give you those cards. You have Squeeze for Recursive, and then Twisted Fealty to steal something from your opponent. So kind of the Yoink card that we had in the previous mono red version. Moving on, we go to Abzan Pigs, 65% win rate. And we are going to take a look at the Piggy deck. So this is all in pigs. So you have Porcelain Portent, you have Drover of the Swine. So when it enters the battlefield, choose 1, conjure a card of your choice from. So you basically conjure one of the pigs, or return 3 boars with different names from your graveyard to the battlefield. So you have the 3rd little pig. This one gets bigger whenever you conjure another pig. You have the 2nd little pig that can become a flyer for 4 mana. And then you have the 1st little pig. I think this one's the best one. Just really useful kind of utility creature. 7 pieces removal, Hand Hate and Juggernaut Peddler, some reprieves. Contagious Vordrak can basically help you find lands or proliferate. And then you have Swine Rebellion that either summons or you get to conjure more pigs. So it's all about making piggies in this deck. And then stacking porcelains to give them Lord effects and kind of get value that way. And then lastly, this list is from MTG. They didn't post their thing, but they got to number 5 Mythic and Best of 3 with Gruul Dinosaurs. So the kind of deck is built around of Durin. Whenever you attack, scry 2, then you may reveal the top card of your library. If it's a creature put on the battlefield tapped, attacking against trample. If you control, so your next turn it gains trample if you control a dwarf, and hexproof if you control an elf. No dwarfs, no elves in this deck, so it's just really cheating to play. So you're trying to use things like Delighted Halfling, Bramble Familiar, Paleontologist to ramp you. Watley can find you some lands as well. You can go Hulking Raptor, so you could go like turn 3 Hulking Raptor, turn 4 Itali, find Door, attack, find like Trumpeting Carnosaur, find other things. You're playing Generous Ent and Oliphant as cheap ways to find lands. You'll notice a probably fewer amount of lands than you would normally play in a deck like this, because you will tutor with them, and then these are also hits off your door. So it lets you artificially lower your land count and kind of play like that. Kind of cool deck if you like dinos, different take, kind of like fight rigging-esque, but not all as reliant on the fight rigging, and you get to just kind of cheat and play. Having another 1-drop that like makes your big things uncounterable in terms of like Atali or Watley or even the instant is pretty good in that respect. Even making Doors uncounterable because it's a legendary artifact. This is it for the week. Let me know what you think. Catch you next time. Thanks for watching.